with all the practices, we start by listening to the bell. So really choosing for yourself whether to have your eyes open or closed. And if you have your eyes open, maybe choosing a spot on the floor in front of you, just with a soft focus. As the bell dies away, just noticing the way in which your body has landed to its seat, or if you're lying down, to whatever's supporting you. And if we start by just having the eyes open and becoming aware of what's in your line of vision. And it may be that you're looking at the screen, or it could be that you just let your eyes move away from the screen. You're welcome to touch back in to check that I'm still here with you. You're not practicing alone. But just letting your eyes rest now on something that's not moving. And beginning the process of just tracing round the edges, curious and interested in the shape of the object. Just letting your eyes move. And if the eyes start to water, really feel free to close the eyes, to rest them for a moment, or to blink. So this isn't kind of a staring competition, but just an opportunity to use sight to notice something that's unmoving, unchanging in your field of vision. A curiosity about the shape and the colour, where the light falls on this object. And what you may begin to notice, I'm sure you have already, is that placing our attention onto an object using our sight doesn't stop the mind from wandering. In fact, you may notice with sight that the mind wanders quite a lot. We're being triggered or prompted by what we see into thoughts about it, maybe thoughts about its future or the future, or maybe there's memories where this thing came from, how it got here. Maybe my words now are prompting a whole cascade of thoughts. It's really normal for the mind to be triggered into thinking. And the invitation here is to notice when we're thinking without objecting to this thinking mind, but just coming back to the simplicity of noticing shape, colour, texture, and that it's not moving, this object. This object could be pretty neutral. Usually during the course of a day, you don't really notice this thing. It's not very triggering, quite safe in that respect. We're not seeking pleasure. We're not trying to escape pain. An opportunity to allow everything to be as it is, and to allow this object to be as it is. It was already here before we began looking. It's here when our minds wander away, and it's here for us to come back to. It could be that as you pay attention to this object, you begin to notice emotions arising, very possibly boredom, disinterest, maybe fascination, awe or wonder. Anything on the spectrum between pleasant and unpleasant and neutral in the middle could be arising as a feeling tone, a mood, emotion within you. And the mindfulness invitation is to notice when that's your primary experience, or a lingering experience somewhere on the periphery. And to begin again with simply seeing, looking at the object, settling into shape, colour, texture. And if you haven't already, if you want to, you could choose a different object now. Not that we're hunting out or seeking a nicer experience, but sometimes it's helpful to choose something else to look at. Allowing yourself this opportunity. So this is a focusing anchor of sight on something stable. And you can choose now whether to keep the eyes open, but letting the vision go a bit fuzzy, or closing the eyes. And you can reverse that choice at any time. But we're going to move on to sounds. So whatever serves you, eyes open or eyes closed. The intention now switches to listening to sounds. And of course, threaded through this, you'll have the sound of my voice coming and going. My voice is changing, coming, going. And as I finish speaking in a moment, being really curious about any sounds that are pretty much consistent. Maybe you hear the sound of traffic, the sound of heating or air conditioning, the sound of a ticking clock, the sound of birds singing, rain falling. This isn't a to-do list that you have to go looking for, just some suggestions of the sorts of sounds that might be here sort of for a slightly longer period of time to pay attention to as a focusing anchor. A steady sound to return to from the wandering mind or from the feeling tone of mood and emotion. So I'll fall into silence again for you to experiment with sounds. It can be really helpful to turn up the dial on curiosity, on interest, listening in. Noticing if this turns into striving or trying hard, if paying attention turns into hard work. Just noticing if that's arising and softening off a little. The sounds are coming to your ears, you don't need to go out to get them. So in this short period of silence, receiving sounds, listening to sounds. The same invitation when thoughts arise, and I say when because they're definitely going to, I'm sure they are. When thoughts arise, not objecting, not minding, not kind of fighting with them with other thoughts and not trying to shut them up. It's more just a kind of gentle acceptance of noticing, that's thinking, I've drifted away from sounds. It's really normal, but now it becomes possible to begin again with sounds. Drifting back towards sounds, arriving back with sounds, and listening once more in this period of silence. What are you noticing by way of sounds, and how does it feel for you? Just paying attention within to notice if this offers you a sense of an anchor, some stability or steadiness from listening to sounds. And if it doesn't, it's really fine to let sounds go, return to sight, or let your mind wander onto maybe where you went on your last holiday. This just fills the mind with some useful, wise distraction while I carry on talking about sounds. There's no requirement, there's no awards given for those of you who stay with the meditation just because I told you to, really letting this be your choice. But if you're happy to stay with sounds for a little bit longer, being curious, listening in to whatever steadying sound you have chosen. You notice that sounds dot about, different sounds coming and going. The landscape of sounds is one with lots of change in it sometimes. And sort of woven through that, can you find a thread of a sound that's a little bit constant, a little bit reliable as a place to come back to, steadying sound. So one more space of silence for you to notice sounds and steadying sounds and how it feels for you right now. When you're ready, we'll move on from sounds and inviting the awareness to move into your body, move to the sense of touch. And we have the touch of the floor against whatever's touching down. So if your feet are on the floor, or if you're lying, the back surface of your body perhaps against mattress or sofa floor. Being really curious about sensations of contact. Those places that aren't moving. The steadiness or stillness of a body touching a still and steady earth. Just noticing how this feels for you. Whether this feels curious and interesting and helpful. But if it's stirring a lot of restlessness, being at liberty to move. There's no requirement to stay still. And it may be helpful to stand or take some steps. And so still the focusing anchor, the steadying anchor of feet touching floor as you walk, as you take a pace or as you stand up. So being still isn't the thing, it's more just the use of touch, of the contact of body to stable earth. Inviting you in this period of silence to notice, what is this like for you? What do you feel by way of grounded contact? When you feel ready, you might be curious, really interested in how it feels to notice a breath. And if the breath feels really triggering, which it may well, then noticing which of these other three anchors you wish to return to, the sight, the sounds, or the touch. And sometimes the breath feels okay. Some days, sometimes, a few breaths feel okay. But really letting this be your exploration, seeing if we can drop judgments, expectations. In trauma, unaware mindfulness, the breath is forever used as the place to come home to. And of course it's rubbish for us, people who are living with trauma to some extent. It's just one more element of experience to notice and discover. Is it helpful today? And if it is, it's available. And if it's not, we just move attention to something that is steadying. So now, from these choices, letting yourself have the next period of silence, so choosing one place to return to that you found helpful, seeing what it's like now. And if the mind kind of says, no, it wasn't, you've got the wrong one, dot to another, jump to another, just reassuring the mind, no panic, it's okay. Really okay. Choosing one and just spending this really short period of time experimenting with it. Moving awareness if that's helpful, but not from a place of panic triggering, if that's possible for you right now. What are you noticing here? So as this practice draws to a close, just reflecting for a moment on what you've discovered about your very individual and unique focusing anchor. What helps you feel a sense of steadiness? Just kind of tucking that away in the memory banks, not expecting it to always be so, may not be so next time, but just building up a little sort of filing system of experiences to draw on in the future. So as you reflect on this practice, what was helpful today? And when you're ready, listening to the ending bell.